Welcome to part 2 of my voyage to Rehoku, Chatham Island. In part 1, I sailed from Bay of Islands to East Cape. This is where it starts to get serious. Sorry, I hate to be that guy who's intentionally slowing his boat down, but I did it just the drifter and double reefed main, which seems to be pretty well balanced, and we're still going 5 to 6 knots, so that's fast enough. 5 knots, if we average 5 knots, get there in 3 and a bit days, which is a little bit too fast actually, because the weather is going to be a bit strong on that day, according to the model, but can always heave to. You know, we're a long way from anywhere. We're going out, we're going to be in the ocean, and don't want anything to break, not on the first day. And you know, when we get there, Chatham Island, the next stop is Chile. Like, this is it. Oh, Rapa Nui, that's Rapa Iti, then Rapa Nui, those are a bit further north. Yes, I don't want to sail across the entire Pacific under a jury rig. Let's just take it easy. Although that would make a good YouTube video. No one would see it for 3 months though. So yeah, not going to do that. Not today. Another to-do list item that I didn't accomplish before leaving is make a chart table for the galley, where I basically spend my time. I have the journey so far, just past there, and an estimated 120 mile a day, 5 knots average speed trip of 3.5 days that will have me arriving 5 AM on Wednesday. Self-steering gear is definitely earning its keep today. Look how well it's doing in these following seas. It's actually working a lot, doing a lot more than usual. Normally it pretty much just holds on the weather helm. Today, since dawn, has been pretty slow progress. 4 knots if we're lucky. Right now we're doing about 2. So my plan for arriving in 3 days definitely gone out the window. And we're 60 miles offshore from New Zealand, so well out of range of weather forecasts. So we're just, you know, taking what comes now. The weather model does actually say there is no wind, a very little wind where I am right now. So, and it says more wind will come later. So, I mean, more wind's going to come later, sooner or later. According to the chart, this water is 3,405 meters deep. It's not actually a featureless expanse. You can actually find your way here. Like, there's this big like northeasterly swell. So like before, when there was no wind at all, the boat turned around, and I knew it turned around because the swell was coming from the wrong direction. Also, there's a long line of puffy clouds over there. That's where New Zealand is. I mean, New Zealanders will know this, but many of my viewers are not New Zealanders. And the Maori name for New Zealand is Aotearoa, which means long white cloud. And when I was a kid, they taught us in school that why it was named a long white cloud was because they had mistaken the snow on the Southern Alps for a cloud, which is knowing what I know now about traditional navigation is complete nonsense. There would have just been a big long cloud over the island because clouds form over islands, and people who spent a lot of time at sea know that. Yeah, and of course, you know, by the time that you can see the snow on a mountain, you can see there's fucking land there. But when you see like, shit, this cloud is huge, you know that this island's a lot bigger than the other little islands that are sprinkled across the Pacific. Just enough wind to be moving at like nearly 4 knots, which is quite a bit more comfortable than just being becalmed. Being becalmed in a catamaran, way better and quite tolerable. You totally just bob around and read a book all day or whatever. On a monohull, you're sort of whipped back and forth. That is really unpleasant. In a catamaran, I mean, it's nice to be moving, but it's okay. The light wind sails are off and bagged, and probably not going back on until we arrive. Not very cold yet. Working jib and main, still going 7 knots. Veered off to get back on course. It's more like 6 knots, 5 to 6 knots. The important thing is that it's comfortable because this is a long haul. It's probably going to get worse. It's now Monday. That makes it day 6. Reached the point of the trip where I forgot how to count because I left on Tuesday. So it's been nearly a whole week. Tuesday through Monday is 7 days. I was woken up this morning by the sail was flopping and I was pointing, and after a while I started to steer back, but then I realised that the sunrise was on the wrong side. I was actually going that way. So after a lot of messing around with the sails, I came up with this setup, which is going in a straight line approximately, and at least 5 knots. Also during the night crossed, we're now 40 degrees south and we passed 180 degree longitude. So now we're in the west longitude. So we're in the western hemisphere, the other side of the world in terms of longitude. Just noticed that one of the control strings is broken. Now we're only sailing straight because of sail balance. And I'm ready working on the coffee, so I'm going to have that first. Then do the precarious clipped on repair job. So I'd like to point out to any monohullers that are watching the conditions in which I'm making the coffee. A stovetop mocha pot coffee, which is by far the most precarious way to make coffee on a boat. Okay, I'm making good progress with the sextant stuff. It's a bit confusing because all the instructions generally assume you're in the northern hemisphere and the western hemisphere, but crossing over into actually the western hemisphere today, I realised the GHA, basically the position of the sun on the earth, I was going the wrong way around. It's actually, I'm used to writing down 176 degrees longitude, but that's east, and I saw 176 in the table, but it was actually west. So because I'm so close to the opposite side of the world from where they invented this stuff, if I had been somewhere else on Earth, it probably wouldn't have been confusing. This is pretty much a perfect storm for being like exactly opposite, where it's like kind of ambiguous. It looked like it made sense, whereas if it had been like 90 degrees, I would have been able to figure it out probably. Anyway, so I added it the other way around. Also just improving technique with the sextant. So today I got latitude that was 6 miles out and longitude that was 15 miles out. 15 miles is, you can generally see land that far away. 40 miles you generally can't. And then I recalculated yesterday's measurements with what I learned today, and they came out much better, acceptably accurate. I think just a bit more practice and I'll be able to do this. I was woken by like a scary surf, like a massive surge. Got up, got the raincoat on, went up to reef. It was already fully reefed, so I took it down. Still got the Janara up. It's still going 5 knots. I decided it was time to reef the staysail. Sorry for the very messy camera work, but as you can see, it was extremely windy. It's quite unpleasant conditions right now, and I'm just hove to. Yesterday I had pretty strong following winds. Now the winds are blowing south, quite strong. So like the wind is blowing the opposite direction to what the remnants of to what the swell was. So, and the wind's going directly away from where I wanted it to be. But sooner or later it should turn to the southwest, which will be a beam reach, which will probably be a bumpy ride as well, but at least it'll be moving. A jar of spiced jalapenos fell off and opened, and all the juice came out, so now there's spicy vinegar in the bilge, which is a shame because that jalapeno juice is actually a really delicious ingredient to add to fish soup. It's become a bit colder as I was, as I said it would. I feel like I finally got the boat dialed into these conditions, and now we're bumping along. It's not too uncomfortable. It's bumpy, but it's like consistent bumpy. Whereas before, This morning was actually really unpleasant. I was even feeling a little bit queasy. Quite a challenge to get energy up to do something, whereas now I'm feeling pretty good in comparison. Just got serious. Broke rudder. The one I had fixed, my weld. Yeah, so I feel a bit stupid for that. But also, now this is like actually a survival situation. I mean, I do have an EPIRB, I can't push the button and get rescued. I have to abandon the boat. Let's see if we can save the boat. Right now, I feel safe. We're floating. We have some maneuverability. I have sailed with just one rudder before in mild conditions. In heavy, very heavy conditions that we have now, the waves push you a lot. You know, I managed to jibe the boat. I had to put the regular jib up. I'm hoping conditions moderate. Weather model, which is getting a bit old now, says conditions are gonna moderate this evening. And we're pretty close to Chatham Island. If we weren't so close, I would just probably turn around and go up north again where, you know, shit's a bit milder. But like I'm only 30 miles out to be able to make radio contact. So yeah, okay, plan. We're gonna sort of heave to probably with the sea anchor, and then in the morning perhaps sail into, given that now it's somewhat serious, I might wait until the next day. And I'm absolutely sure there'll be practical people on Chatham Island that will have tools such as welders and probably some spare bits of pipe that we can fashion another rudder. Okay, put the sea anchor out. Well, my plan was to sort of get closer and then sea anchor, but then I would be actually on a lee shore. Here I can just sea anchor and I don't have to worry about that. Nothing like a real emergency to give you a greater sense of purpose. Anyway, I can relax for a bit now. I might eat something. Okay, just been checking the weather model. Not that I really think you can trust the weather model that much at this point. It says the swell is going to drop to like 2.8 tomorrow, which is still moderate, but a lot smaller than what it is now, more like 4. At this point, I mean, this weather model is pretty old already, but the swell is caused by an average of wind over a large area, so I reckon this swell is sort of approximate, and the weather model has a large high approaching. And I think that kind of pattern is not going to be completely different. It's going to be a little bit sooner or later. It's still a good guideline, and anyway, it's the only thing I have. Nice weather has to come eventually. I'm not sure if it's light enough for easy sailing with only one rudder, but the wind's definitely going lighter. The waves don't seem quite as big. We don't get like pulled through the massive waves quite as much. And I've gotten warm enough that I'm now getting eager to get the boat ready to move again. There's only a few hours of daylight left, so I should do that. But on the other hand, I'm like, I really want to conserve my dry clothes. Warm. Well, I mean, I guess I'll get back into my wet clothes. Okay, let's do it. So this is what it looks like when you're riding to the sea anchor. I regret not filming anything when I put the sea anchor out, and it was much rougher. At this point, it's about 20 knots, and it's mild enough that I wouldn't have felt the need to put the sea anchor out in these conditions. But since it's already out and it's going to get dark soon, I'm going to leave it until the morning. So before I came on this trip, I had thought, perhaps I should build dual new rudders before I do this. But then I was like, oh, that would mean I can't go this year. Obviously what I should have done. So I also received this damage to the good rudder. So that used to come down to there, but some rust, and it's obviously torn away. I think what I'm going to do is just cut that back square with the angle grinder, maybe remove a little bit of wood so it sits nicely. Because this one was popping off sometimes, and I think if I do that, it won't do that. I decided to cut it off with a hacksaw instead because there'd be much less chance of injuring myself. There we go, I think that will fit. Conditions have eased quite nicely, but not too much. Just right to finding out how well we can sail now. And I'm going to make some real food. Actually haven't eaten anything substantial for like a couple of days. 2 days, I think. I don't actually have that much appetite. But I mean, I've had little snacks, apples and bits of chocolate and stuff like that. Yeah, but I have been sort of sluggish to get going and tired quickly. Have my specialty, sourdough pancake. Sourdough's a bit old, but this is how you do it. I've been meaning to make a whole video about the sourdough pancake and how it's the answer to everything. It's just flour and water, and then you let it go sour on its own. You catch wild yeast. This has been sitting for a couple of days, so the yeast is sort of old and decrepit. If I put fresh flour in after a day, it'll be bubbling and just perfect. Anyway, it's still edible. There we go. Not feeling hungry. Just before dawn. Battle sessions. One worry was how difficult would it be to get the sea anchor in, but I found that as the rope went slack I could pull in a few metres and then quickly cleat it again. And then the boat would spring forwards and then go slack and I could pull it in again. It took a long time. It's actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. But I made slow and steady progress. By the way, the sea anchor is essentially a sturdy underwater parachute, and the purpose is to keep one end of the boat, here I have it set off the bow, facing into the waves. There's some debate whether it's best to set the sea anchor off the bow or the stern, but because on the stern I have some somewhat fragile things such as solar panels and my proa, I decided to set it off the bow instead. I rebagged it in case I needed to use it again. If I just put the jib up, I think it will just go off on a beam range. The boat will be a bit more steadied by that. Then I'll see about putting the rudder back in. The tiller, put a little bit of wear the helm on, part of the tiller, go in the right direction, about 3 knots. I think I'm going to put up some more sails and see if we can improve that speed. I'm very happy with that, and it's only like 8:13. We've got a good day ahead of us. Successfully ate 2 fried eggs, which is great progress. So now I'm going to try something a little more ambitious. Fried potato. A staple on your sleeves, especially when you want something fast. It's course 2. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but it's just when you come up the swell. When we come up the swell, we can see just there's a hill. There's land. So that's landfall. I'll celebrate when I drop anchor though. Full sail now. Getting quite close. You can see a bit more detail. I was welcomed in by the local albatross and mollymawks. Just rounding Point Soames, 5 PM. Seeing them swoop majestically around me made my sailboat feel pretty clumsy. That's definitely rain coming this way. Now it's clear over there, but there's new rain coming from over here. The wind's blowing from here. If I can get in without getting rained on, I will be very grateful. I got in without too much rain, and also before it got dark. A great feeling of relief to be dropped anchor in a place such as this. This is Port Hutt in Whangaroa Harbour. In the research phase I had seen a photo of these trees planted on the western side of the harbour and thought that looks like good shelter. In the next episode I'll get to explore the island a bit and of course fix my boat.